Xdefiant. And what I wanted to bring today was my opinion on Xdefiant before Season 1 comes out. Now, if we recap Xdefiant, we see an introduction of Team Deathmatch. We've seen an overhaul in how the weapon ranking system, the leveling up system, has kind of pushed the community back and forth. There's a bit of tug of war when it came to the community and Xdefiant. People absolutely hated it, which kind of put Xdefiant and the whole team into kind of limbo and having to revert it straight back, if not balancing it back to how it once was, while keeping those incredibly high rankings for those mastery camos. Now we've got a lot of feedback from Mark Rubin, which he did promise he was going to keep us in the loop. He was going to work with us as a whole to improve the game, and he's constantly said this game is for the players. When I think about that statement as a whole, I don't really know if that is correct. I think that's what they want to do. I think that's obviously the heart and soul of what he wanted to bring to life when it came to giving us the experience that we probably failed to get from all the other Call of Duties that released, especially when it comes to actually Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 2009, those OG ones. Modern Warfare 3 in that 4 series was kind of hit and miss as well. You could see that's kind of where it was slanting to with kind of the spawning. And yeah, if you go back and look at the original Modern Warfare 3, you'll see there was a lot of issues with maps and spawning and how the game was kind of balanced out, and they had to do a lot of changes. But anyway, we're here to talk about Xdefiant. But we do have that feel of what we probably should have been getting from Call of Duty. And if you kind of compare those two, it kind of looked like Call of Duty shifted and did shift their whole MO to Warzone, microtransactions, and just having an overabundance of cost for weapon skins and blueprints and King Kong gloves, which I still will always bring up, which is ridiculous. That does nothing in the game. But essentially, I feel like a couple of the cracks have been showing for Xdefiant. If you take a look at the overall arching kind of trajectory of the preseason, now that is preseason. I want to say preseason to a point of understanding that in the preseason they were allowed to make some changes, they were allowed to make some mistakes, we were allowed to make some mistakes on our end as the players. But what I do want to say is that the reason the game has gone through a lot of difficulty so far in terms of getting the balance right with the community is because there's nothing to really grind for in the game. People are saying, yes, you have the mastery camos, and that's great, but we've already been screwed on that, and they're going to revert it to give us a more of a balance, if not being able to kind of reach those mastery camos a little bit quicker. Mark Rubin has also said that he wants to be focusing more on their overall vision of bringing more of these challenges to the game and allow us to grind out and be happy with the idea of unlocking these challenges and skins, whether they be faction skins or whether they be weapon skins. And that's absolutely amazing. But that's obviously going to be over a longer period of time because we are on the cusp of Season 1. Now, when I say Season 1 is coming out, I'm really happy to see new weapons coming into the game. We're also going to get a new map each month. And we're also obviously have a brand new faction, which is going to, see how that plays out in the game. But we've also got an introduction of Team Deathmatch, which is not a new game mode in absolutely any first-person shooter at all, but it is a new game mode for Xdefiant. And you can already see that Team Deathmatch probably wasn't intended for this game. And I say that because my first point on Team Deathmatch is, if you take the Phantoms and you take a look at the overall view of the Phantoms, that's not set up for Team Deathmatch. Their ultimate is basically a dome that isolates yourself because you're a lot slower. There's nothing to really protect, and it doesn't really fit into the Team Deathmatch overall arcing mode. You'll take a look at DedSec. It's great, but you get a disruptor. That's no problem. It's like a joint UAV jammer. That's okay, but that's an ultimate that you got to work up to as well. Spiderbot kind of fits in there. Cleaners and Echelon are probably the two factions that really suit in those game modes. But you can also see that, when you take the overall look of the factions and their abilities, they don't really suit with Xdefiant's style. especially in team deathmatch. So that's just the kind of one big thing. But the great thing is that they did listen to the community, and it's something the community wanted, and they brought it in, and it was great. And they do have a lot of benefits in team deathmatch. For example, if you chain kills together and you get a kill streak, you get a great XP gathering. So if you hit your first kill, you get a second one, it's 150, 2, 350, 450, and so on. Now, as long as you can keep that kill streak going, you'll get a lot more XP, and you'll see that in your overall end of game scoreboard, where if you probably had 20 for 2, you might not only see 2,000 XP, you might see 4,000 or 5,000 XP, depending on how quickly or how fast you kind of chain those kills together to get a kill streak, which is pretty cool, because all that XP does go to your weapons, and it goes to your rank. So that's a big positive. But when you look at the overall arching effect of what a free-to-play, arcade shooter brings, I think it's very lackluster, because everything is so overpriced with Xdefiant, and they've focused more on overpricing their skins and the weapon camos than actually giving players something to grind for. A lot of these camos that you can pay for look absolutely insane. They are absolutely slick. They're pretty cool, and it's great to see. But for 1,400 Xdefiant coins, that is the equivalent of like 15 euros, dollars, sterling, or wherever you are in the world in your currency. That's insane. Like, I know this is something that people have talked about before, but Helldivers is $40 euro sterling, as I said, whatever currency you're in. For me, it's 40 euros, and that was a bargain compared to what a 15 euro or dollar skin would be. So I get 2 of those skins, and essentially it's the equivalent of a game. Now, I get that it's a free-to-play multiplayer game, and they need to make money, and that's absolutely fine. And as well, with the battle pass, if you purchase the battle pass, you're going to get free Xdefiant coins in there that potentially you can build up to buy another battle pass. But when I'm discussing the battle pass and the overall arching kind of effects of what this will have in a game, you look at the battle pass that you've paid money for, and outside of the last MDR skin, the skins are just color palettes: yellow, blue, red, green, and they're pretty shitty, to say the least. A variant of the faction character skins are minuscule at best. It's just something that I don't think is feasible in the game. Like, their battle pass, I get it, and I understand it, but at the same time, a lot of the in-store purchase for those camos could have been added to the game and essentially allowed us to grind them. I don't know, even I was also playing around with, could you potentially grind them, or could you potentially just have them in a challenge and purchase them if you do choose to purchase them and you want them immediately. I kind of have to think about that in a sense of, like, what does that tell you about the game then? So I don't think that may work, because you don't really want to kind of give the option to pay for everything in the game straight off the bat. So I don't know, maybe they could have held back on a couple of the camos, put them into the actual game itself. The one thing I do hate in this game, and I will be 100% honest, is that they individualized each camo per gun. So that means if I unlock even the standard one, which is just a blue paint for a weapon, I only get it for that weapon. It actually doesn't cover all my weapons, and that's something I actually really miss in a game. And I know they're small, and at the time when you're playing the likes of Call of Duty, they might have felt minuscule, but when you get a game like this that everything is a paid skin, or everything just looks, really flat, it just makes it a lot, you just kind of appreciated it before. And I think they went in on that. I just think that because there's so little to do in the game, I think that the game is fun, but when stuff like netcoding, hit reg, ping spikes, latency spikes kind of kick in, I think that's where you can't really justify playing it, because there's nothing to grind in the game, and that's a big issue. And I just want to emphasize on that point as well. As I said, it just, again, if you're having problems with ping, latency, if you're having problems across hit reg, the net coding, all of these elements, and then having issues with them changing up the kind of the deck and the hand that you were played for your weapon XP, there's nothing really to want you to keep you sticking around. Because if you don't have anything to grind where you can say, okay, I'm not too happy with that, but I still want to have X, Y, and Z by a certain time frame because I really want that camo, or I really want to get these amount of headshots, or I really want to be able to do this with my sniper rifle, whatever, or grenade kills, or whatever it may be. It kind of makes you kind of go, well, what's the point in playing this game? And I think that's where most people need to understand that the game is very bare bones. And once again, I will say it over and over again, I get we're in preseason. This game has been in development for a couple of years, and to be so bare bone coming out of the traps so soon, it just more and more makes me think like, is this going to get better or is it going to get worse? That's kind of where I'm at when I take all of this into consideration. Season 1 could either make or break the group that is probably still here, and that, like, don't get me wrong, these games do tend to pull in die-hard fans, and Xdefiant is their game. It's what they want to play. It's their primary game that they put most of the hours into, and that's absolutely fine. But like, if you charge for the battle pass, and the battle pass is lackluster, pretty similar to the way the preseason battle pass was lackluster. Now, it must look probably okay on the surface because we were brand new to it, but then you see the shop kind of start turning over these cool skins, and you're like, I just paid for a battle pass that I got shit all in, and it makes no sense. And then it's asking you for an end title screen when you do player of the game that's going to cost you $10 anyway, or €10. That's absolutely insane in a game, and I think it's just something people are sleeping on, and I don't know why it hasn't been spoke about in more detail. I know you have to battle around the fact that it's a free-to-play game and they do need investment and people should invest in it, but I think if they tend to actually correctly monetize the game and not overcharge for everything, you'll get more funding for the game going forward. I feel like because the game is hyped up, and it was hyped up, they wanted to cash in on the microtransactions, and they thought, look, people will pay for this. This is the standard pricing you're going across. It's not really, and anybody who does pay for those type of camos or skins or factions or abilities that show up on the screen when you kill somebody, I just think it's a waste of your time, and it allows Ubisoft to want to monetize it even further, and if not worse. And what happens is more games like this will get diluted to a point of where you'll just have the gameplay itself and you'll have nothing to grind for. It will be fun for a while and then it will fall off and you won't see it again. Now, with that being said, with the game being falling off, I just don't see a lot of the game having a more of an appealing approach the longer this stands. Now, I'm saying this pre-Season 1. As Season 1 comes out, this could be completely, irrelevant. It could be completely off the mark, and it might not be anywhere close to what I'm saying. But I just have a huge feeling that this is something that I think is going to be a genuine effect across this whole game's lifespan, and I don't know if it's something that will keep the players around for a longer time than we currently are now at the moment. And then you also have the fact that Call of Duty is coming out again. They're going to have Black Ops 6, they're going to have zombies. The Warzone is a big plus at the moment for people who are really keen on jumping into Warzone. Hopefully Treyarch can execute that correctly, and also with the multiplayer aspect as well. They've got a lot of new features coming, and without kind of saying, you can't really compare Call of Duty and Xdefiant, when you break down their 6v6 multiplayer, yes, you can compare them, because that's how this game is going to compare that. Call of Duty has been covering a couple of genres as of late. They've been covering the 4-player co-op zombies, they've been covering the looter shooter, they've been covering the battle royale, and they've been covering the arcade shooter kind of genre. So they've been covering all these genres for a while right now. So yes, they are going to be compared to each other, especially that aspect of the game as a whole is going to be compared to each other. And whether or not you want to compare that to like the Warzone and the zombie type of thing, no, but you can compare the 6v6 arcade shooter style, and that's what the comparison is going to be. So if Call of Duty knock it out of the park with their arcade shooter and maybe tone down the skill-based matchmaking, and then you've got on the other hand, and I'm just kind of, rambling this off the top of my head, if all the stars in line, you might look at the fact that you go over to Call of Duty, you can unlock all these weapons, attachments, and everything like that, and you have a choice whether or not you want to buy a battle pass or invest in all these skins, or you can be with Xdefiant, and essentially you'll just get a bare bones and have a battle pass that has mediocre kind of plated colors to put in your gun, individual guns at that sense, without actually having to pay an extra $15 to $20 euros or sterling for these cosmetics that you can't really grind out in the actual game. But then you kind of look at that they might bring in these mastery challenges or other challenges within Xdefiant, and that's what I'm really hoping that they can flourish with, because realistically I want this game to succeed. I'm not looking to pump money into Call of Duty anymore. I'm just sick and tired of Call of Duty. I am going to play the new Call of Duty. Obviously, I'm going to do my breakdown similar to what I'm doing in Xdefiant, but I would do that genuinely just for content. I don't really get any joy out of it. I will be honest, the zombie aspect in the recent Call of Duty, I got a lot of joy out of, outside of its heartache of falling through maps and losing all your loot because you got kicked out and because it's constantly online all the time. But there is round-based zombies coming in, so I'm going to be happy playing that as well as this. But competitively, I'll probably stick with Xdefiant. But that all determines on what direction they want to take. But guys, that's kind of my overview and my thoughts on what I can see coming for Xdefiant. I really hope that a lot of the stuff that I'm saying is wrong and they prove me wrong in that aspect. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below how you're kind of anticipating the new season 1. What are you expecting from season 1 and further content from Xdefiant? Do you think it's lackluster? Do you think it's bare boned? What do you want to see introduced? Do they really need to look over the store and the pricing that they're charging for these skins and emotes that they have? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget, hit a like, hit a sub, really help the channel grow, and I'll see you on the next one.